Welcome back to another video, and today we got our Week 10 NFL game predictions where we're doing these every single Wednesday night, so you can expect these. Make sure you subscribe if you are new. Turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss whenever we upload. Like this video if you enjoy, all the good fun stuff. Not only do we do NFL content, we got college basketball Power 40 rankings every single Monday, so those are every week. We got college football top 25 rankings, those are also every single week, every single Tuesday, and then NBA videos every Thursday. We also do MLB videos when that season is up and running. So if any of that interests you, make sure you go on there, subscribe. Links in the description as always. X, Twitch, TikTok, Discord. Apologize for the long intro. But with all that being said, let's take a look at the standings. And I still am in first. I've got quite a bit of a lead here. I'm sitting at a 7-game lead, and I will say I've won this little picks game the past 3 years. I'm looking for the four-peat. I've won all 3 years, by the way. Jackson has overtaken Gavin for that fifth place spot. We still got a very tight race here at second, third, and fourth, all either tied or within a game of each other. I mean, it's switching around every single week, so we'll see what happens with them. But as of right now, I am comfortably in first place. So if you're doing any betting, maybe you want to lean towards what I say. I mean, that's just what it says so far, um, based on these standings. But with all that being said, let's take a look at the Thursday night game. And this game is very 50-50. I will say maybe this is one where you don't want to go with what I say because this one could really go either way. I mean, it's a huge advantage that's in Baltimore. The Ravens are favored by 6. I'd probably expect the Bengals to cover that. I think it's going to be a very close game. Honestly, I don't know. This one's really tough. I feel like this could be a game the Bengals win, but I do feel a little bit more confident picking the Ravens. Yes, their defense looks atrocious. I mean, last time they played, it was 41-38. But I mean, I don't know. The Ravens, their defense looks really bad. I was giving them praise coming into the year, saying they have a top 5 defense. They, um, not anymore. They have one of the worst defenses in the league, at least statistic wise. Now, personally, I don't think they are the worst. But if you look at I mean, they do have the worst pass defense when it comes to this team. Now, offensively, they probably have the second best offense in the league, only behind the Lions. And the Bengals have a very elite offense and not a great defense either. So these two teams are pretty similar. But I do think the Ravens at home, favored by 6, I will lean slightly that way, although it is very close and it could go either way on Thursday night. We got an absolute snooze fest here in the Germany game. The Giants taking on the Panthers. The Panthers actually won last week against the Saints, so good on Bryce Young for getting a win. Now, these two teams are two of the worst teams in the league. They're both 2-7. Um, this is just an abysmal game. With that being said, though, who do I think will win? Do I see a world where the Panthers win back-to-back games? I don't really know. Personally, I still think the Giants are slightly better. I still do think the Panthers are at the very best a bottom 3 team in the league, and I think the Giants have some promising qualities. I mean, Malik Neighbors looks really good. They have Singletary and Tyrone Tracy. I think the Panthers will get Jonathan Brooks back, so we'll see what they get from him. Chuba Hubbard has looked really good, but they just traded Deontay Johnson to the Ravens. I don't know. I feel like the Panthers kind of know. We know what they're going to give us. This is going to be a really bad, ugly game, but I do think the Giants are better overall. Could be a weird game. It's in Germany. The Bears taking on the Patriots. Now, looking at the Bears, they are in a pretty tough spot right now because they're sitting at 4-4, and they have one of the hardest schedules in the league left remaining. They still have to play all 6 of their division teams, who are all looking like playoff teams. I mean, the Vikings are 6-2, the Packers are 6-3, and the Lions are 7-1. Not only do they have those 6 teams left, they also have the Niners and the Seahawks, who could very well both end up as playoff teams as well. So that's 8 of their next 9 games. So this game is essentially as much of a must-win game as it has been. You know, they last week was also arguably a must-win game, but I mean, it, they got to win this week. I think they will. It's at home. They're favored by 6. The over/under is a whopping 39.5 points. I mean, the Bears put up 9 points last week against the Cardinals. It's not a good look when you're losing by 20 points to the Arizona Cardinals. That's obviously not what you want to see if you are a Bears fan, which I am, unfortunately. But I do think against the Patriots, I don't know if Drake May's playing. If he doesn't play, I still do think the Bears win. I think their defense is good enough to slow them down and then get the job done here at home. The next game we're going to be looking at, the Bills go to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Now, this one, it depends on who's playing for the Colts, because if Flacco's playing, I could see a world where maybe the Colts get an upset pulled off. I mean, the Bills are sitting at 7-2. I'm not gonna go ahead and predict that. I think the safe pick here is to go with the Bills. Like I said, favored by 4 points here. The Bills are looking like one of the best teams in the league. Josh Allen's doing his thing over there. I'll go ahead and take the Bills here. The Broncos versus Chiefs. The Broncos were actually sitting at 5-3 last week. They lost to the Ravens, but they still have a winning record. As crazy as it is to say, Bo Nix is really doing his thing over there in Denver, and he's actually looking really good. He's looking like an experienced rookie, which he is, so it makes sense. But this week, going into Arrowhead against the Chiefs, they're 8-point underdogs. I'll go ahead and take the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs just win in close games, it feels like, every single week. I mean, last week, they go out and beat the Buccaneers in overtime, who were very banged up. So I don't know if you can really get all that excited about it. But the Chiefs do have the best record in the league. They're 8-0. So maybe you can get excited about it. They definitely have a top 5 defense. And obviously they have Patrick Mahomes. So go ahead and give me the Chiefs here pretty easy. Somebody's got to beat them eventually, though. I mean, they're not going to go 17-0. At least I don't think. We got an NFC South matchup here. The Atlanta Falcons go to New Orleans to take on the Saints. And it's kind of surprising. The Saints are 2-7. They've lost 7 games in a row. They fired their coach, Dennis Allen. It's just really falling apart. Chris Olave suffered another concussion. Prayers out to him and all his people. Because he's had a whole lot of concussion problems, similar to Tua, actually. So prayers up for Olave. Hopefully he can get a speedy recovery. I am an Ohio State fan, so he's a little bit of a closer connection there underneath us all. But obviously, anyone who, I mean, I said the same thing for Tua when all his concussion stuff was happening. But that's besides the point. The Falcons here are sitting at 6-3. It's looking like they're going to win the division. I predicted them to win this division. There was a point earlier in the season where we thought maybe the Buccaneers were going to have it, but it looks like the Falcons are going to win. At least as of right now, the Bucs are only 2 games back, so maybe I shouldn't be celebrating too early. But the Bucs have a tough game this week. The Falcons, I do think, win this week. They beat the Cowboys last week. I thought the Cowboys would win. I thought that was a must-win game for the Cowboys. The Falcons won. Bijan looks really good. Drake London, we'll have to see what happens if he's going to play, if he's not going to play. Even without him, I still think they win here. I mean, no Olave for the Saints, no Shaheed. It's going to be Derek Carr, who already doesn't look great coming back from his injury, without his 2 top targets. Yes, they have Kamara, but how much can he really do against the Falcons, who have a very nice defense as well? Give me Kirk Cousins and all of them over there in Atlanta. Speaking of the Bucs, this is the game I'm talking about. This is a very tough matchup for the Bucs. Both these teams are kind of a must-win game for both of these. I mean, whoever loses will fall to a losing record. The Niners are sitting at 4-4. The Buccaneers are at 4-5. So if you're a Bucs fan, do you want to fall to 4-6? Probably not. I mean, that's a little bit of a hole you're digging for yourself. But the Niners as well. I mean, if you lose this one, you're 4-5, and that is not how you expected to start the season, coming off the Super Bowl appearance from last year. Now the Niners have been beat up. Now the huge story here is, will CMC play? It's looking, all the signs are pointing towards he will play. Now how many carries will he get? Will it be a split with Mason? Uh, we'll see. Even with or without CMC, I think the Niners win. Yes, there's no Ayuk, but they'll have Debo. He'll be back healthy coming off this bye. Same with Kittle. Everyone will have a week of rest. They'll all be healthy, at least I think. The defense will get time to be more healthy. Literally the whole team. I mean, this bye week just came at a perfect time. And obviously, if CMC comes back, that's a huge addition to their team. Now we did see the Bucks, even with them being banged up, almost beat the Chiefs on the road. I mean, they took them to overtime. Probably should have won that game, and that's definitely promising. But with no Mike Evans for at least a couple more weeks, no Chris Godwin for the rest of the year, it's definitely tough to predict the Bucks to win this game. I could see it. It is in Tampa, but I think the Niners get the job done. This, surprisingly, is probably the game of the week. There is another game that's pretty good, but I mean, this is 6-2 versus 7-2. I mean, this is a very important game. Both these teams are looking like playoff teams as of right now. The Commanders, as crazy as it is to say, might end up winning the NFC East. They're a game up on the Eagles right now. A half game up on the Eagles right now. Pretty crazy to think about. Now, going into the year, I was higher on the Commanders than most, and I had them winning 6 games. They have already passed that, so I had them going 6-11. They're sitting at 7-2, and I was higher on them than most because I was just very high on Jaden Daniels, and he's proved me right so far. When looking at the Steelers, everyone, myself included, was giving him slack for benching Field and putting Russ in there. I guess Mike Tomlin ultimately knew more than we did, because in the 2 games Russ has started, they have looked great. The defense once again looks elite. This is a game that could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers win it just because Mike Tomlin is that good of a coach. But I will slightly lean with the home team. I mean, the Commanders' offense just looks so good. And I think they'll be able to score enough where the Steelers just won't be able to put up that many points. Although we have seen Russ put up quite a bit of points in the 2 games he's played. So maybe the matchup actually favors the Steelers, but I am going to slightly favor the home team. The Commanders just traded for Lattimore also. That is a huge addition. They're really going all in, and I respect it. I would too, starting off the year 7-2. So that is obviously a huge move there. I'm going to take the Commanders. The Vikings versus Jaguars. I could keep this one pretty simple. I mean, it's a 6-2 team versus a 2-7 team. I'll go ahead and take the team with 6 wins. Give me the Vikings. The defense looks elite. The team just looks very good in general. They beat the Colts last week, Sunday Night Football. I think this week on the road against Jacksonville, they should have no problems. Only 4-point favorites, but I don't know. Maybe this is a closer game than some people think. I could actually see that. But again, it's hard for me not to pick the Vikings here. I mean, Justin Jefferson's just ridiculous. Our first afternoon game of the slate, the Titans go to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. Another easy one here for me. The Chargers defense looks like one of the best in the league. The Titans offense looks like one of the worst in the league. Sounds like a matchup made in, sounds like a nightmare matchup for the Titans. And the Chargers offense is kind of impressing me a little bit. I mean, Herbert, J.K. Dobbins, Ladd McConkey's doing really good. So good on the Chargers. I don't think anybody expected them to start off 5-3. I thought they would be. I might have had them going 6-11, maybe 7-10. They're already sitting at 5 wins, and I think it's likely they get their 6th this week against the Titans at home. Huge NFC East matchup here. The Eagles at Cowboys, and normally in this environment, I would take the Cowboys. It feels like these 2 teams usually split. The Cowboys get it at home. The Cowboys, it's kind of a must-win game for them. If they lose this, they're 3-6. But the Cowboys are likely going to be without Dak Prescott. They might be without Micah Parsons once again. They also, CeeDee Lamb has been banged up. If Cooper Rush is playing, there's no way I can take the Cowboys here, and all signs are pointing towards him starting. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Eagles. And the Cowboys might be on the verge of missing the playoffs this year, and that would be a huge. I mean, that would cause a whole lot of panic in their organization. So we'll see, but I can't pick them to win with no Dak Prescott at QB. The Jets taking on the Cardinals. They're essentially saying this is a pick'em game. Arizona's favored by 1 point. They did beat the Bears last week in convincing fashion, but the Jets beat the Texans in a game that I picked the Texans, but I said I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets won. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. The Jets did win. Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams just get all the targets here. I mean, nobody else gets the ball besides Breece Hall, obviously. I'm talking about throwing the ball, though. The defense looked really good last week against the Texans. I think in this game, this is another must-win game for the Jets. If they lose, they fall to 3-7. I don't think it's realistic to expect the Cardinals to continue to be in first in their division. Because honestly, I'd honestly say the Cardinals are still the worst team in their division. I know they're sitting at first right now, but I mean all these teams are hot on their tail. They're sitting at 5-4. But I mean, the Rams are 4-4, the Niners are 4-4, the Seahawks are 4-5. I think there's a chance the Cardinals still finish last in this division, even though they've been in first for a lot of this season. I think the Jets get it done, though. I mean, they looked really good last week. The defense looked back to form. I think they have figured some stuff out over there in New York. So give me the Jets here, but the Cardinals could win. They are at home. They are favored too. But I'll take the Jets here. Everyone else is on the Jets too, which is kind of surprising. Lions versus Texans, also kind of surprising. Maybe not as much. I mean, the Texans are a really good team, though. Yes, they lost last week, but they're 6-3, and they're looking like a playoff team, almost locked in just because of how weak their division is. But the Lions are arguably looking like the best team in football, sitting at 7-1, definitely the best offense in football. And you could argue that they should be the Super Bowl favorite right now, and I wouldn't blame you. They might be, I mean, at least, they got to be at least your team out of the NFC at this point in the year now. Preseason, I was a big Niners. I actually predicted the Niners to win the Super Bowl this year. But as of right now, it's got to be the Lions out of the NFC. I mean, we could be gearing up to see a Lions-Chiefs Super Bowl, and the Lions might actually pull it off. At least as of right now, halfway through the year, the Lions have looked that good. Everybody else is on the Lions. I'm going to go ahead and take the Lions as well. I mean, I can't take the Texans here. It's just too risky of a pick. I could see it. I actually could. The Texans are a very good team, so fading them at home in primetime. The Lions only favored by 3.5, which that is a good amount, but for the Lions, it's really not. But they were favored last week by 3 and dominated the Packers for really the whole game. I mean, the Lions look like the best offense in the league and arguably a top 5 defense in the league, and now they bring in Zadarius Smith. The Lions are just insane. It's insane how good they've gotten. I'm going to take the Lions. It's hard for me not to. They're looking like the best team in football right now. And then the Monday night game, the 2-6 Dolphins versus the 4-4 Rams, and surprisingly enough, the 2-6 team has all of the guys on it. I mean, it makes sense because, yes, the Dolphins have been without Tua, which obviously tarnishes their record, and they're definitely better than their record says they are. But the Rams have been injured pretty much the whole start of the season as well. They've only really had their full team back the past 1 or 2 weeks, and you could say the same for the Dolphins. So both these teams I think are better than their record says. The reason I am going to go with the Dolphins, and I know this is a weird pick because it's prime time on the road, and it's 2-6 team. The Rams are favored by 2.5. Both these teams are getting healthy. I think with another week with Tua back, this is the week where we see the Dolphins return to form. This is also kind of a must-win game in my eyes. If they lose, they're 2-7. I mean, their best result if they win out is 10-7, which could get them in as maybe a 6 or 7 seed. And that's saying they win out. How realistic is that? I mean, if they lose this game and then finish even 6-2, which I think is realistic, but that's still hard to accomplish. they lose this week and then finish their last 8 games 6-2, they're at 8-9, which I don't know if that's good enough to make the playoffs. So this is in my eyes a must-win game. I think the Dolphins understand that, and I think this is the game we see them return to form. I think they get it done. The Rams can afford a loss here, but I mean, this is obviously a 50-50 game. So again, very surprising to see everyone on the Dolphins. But that's going to do it for the Week 10 NFL game predictions. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you go on there, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss whenever we upload. Like I said, college basketball Power 40 rankings every Monday. College football top 25 rankings every Tuesday. Obviously, our NFL game predictions every Wednesday. And then NBA Playoff Watch, which is our just little podcast type episodes we do every Thursday, and then obviously MLB content when that season is around. Links in the description. As always, X, Twitch, TikTok, Discord. Make sure you follow those, join those if you would like to. But that's going to do it. Make sure you check out the 2 videos popping up on the screen right now. Those are our 2 most recent videos from earlier in the week on Monday and Tuesday. And make sure you tune in to our NBA video tomorrow. That's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching.